thank you everyone for joining us for this very unique and inaugural event. It's the leaders and legends gathering here at the International Volleyball Hall of Fame in Holyoke, Massachusetts. In attendance are leaders past, present, and of course future, and the inductees from the class of 2025. And we'll be accessing their opinions about where the sport has been in years and decades gone by, and also what the near future holds. I'm Paul Sunderland, joined by Lee Feinswag, who is owner, writer, proprietor of 900 square feet. I encourage all of you to participate. And we want to get things going because there's so much to discuss about what has happened in this sport when you look around this Hall of Fame and how it has changed. Just look at the balls on the background, and I played with a white one. There are no more white ones. So there's tremendous history, and we really want to talk about that past and how it has shaped what will be a dynamic and exciting future for the sport of volleyball, with the World Championships on the women's side coming to the United States in 2027, and of course the Olympic Games also coming back to Los Angeles in 2028. And with that, I wanted to start with the president of the FIVB. Very nice to see you once again, Fabio, an old friend, Fabio Azevedo. And I mentioned the 2027 World Championships and the upcoming Olympic Games, but just coming off what happened in Thailand and the Philippines, what is the momentum from that, the lesson learned, and where does the game need to go to maximize those opportunities?
No, thank you, Paul. And thanks everyone for having us here. That's amazing, amazing place to be. An amazing place to celebrate the power of a sport everywhere in the world. I would say first, your question in terms of the very recent 2 World Championships was a massive example of the power sport growing everywhere in the world. So we launched 4.5 years ago the Volleyball Empowerment Program, which is investment from the International Federation into national teams. And what do you see? In Philippines, for example, out of the round of 16, we had teams out of the top 11 in the world ranking. So Cuba, Brazil, Japan, Germany, they were all out of the round of 16. What does that mean? That the entire technical level of the other countries is growing up, is increasing in the world, which is great. What do you want? We want to see our sport bigger and better in the future. We launched a vision last year in November 2032, and basically the main key pillar of this vision is moving the eyeballs, the fan base, the marketplace, connect to volleyball from the current 800 million people in the world. According to Nielsen research, we have 800 million people somehow connect to volleyball in the world, and we want to grow into 1.6 billion people in 2032. And just long story short, there's no other way of making it happen rather than making our sport more accessible, more understandable, more affordable. And that's why we need in terms of vision throughout the World Champs in 27 and Olympic Games in 28.
Thank you, Fabio.
To piggyback off of that, Hugh, you've talked about guiding the direction of where the FIV and where the sport's going to go. Can you elaborate more on some of the things you talked about?
Well, Fabio alluded to this strategic plan that he had as part of his mandate for the next 8 years. All of the initiatives are kind of baked into that, but really the overall goal around increasing market share, that's obviously a big part of it. But I think also there's a need and an interest in shifting more from a political entity to a professional entity, and having more transparency around our processes, being about the athletes and the sport and the fans, and really just trying to grow the game that we all love.
And speaking of athletes, our first question maybe to Laura Ludwig, gold medalist from 2016, and we were visiting last night, and I was interested to learn that you were always a beach player, growing up as a child, playing on the beaches of Germany, which is kind of interesting for someone who grew up in Malibu, California. But with that said, how did you start out as such a youngster and then progress, and the support you got from the German Federation and playing on the world tour and then eventually becoming an Olympic champion and a 5-time Olympian?
I think the first start was that I had a really strong partner who was 2 years older than me and had really the vision going out of the safe indoor volleyball sport, where I actually just started playing Bundesliga and was 17 years, and I felt safe in this environment. But that she had the vision to go to play beach volleyball and make a living out of it. And so I just followed her in the at start. And then we just started playing on the world tour, and the success came. And so that's why I was feeling that this is my life, what I want to live. And definitely I had a lot of support from my family, from the federation, obviously, because we had a lot of camps where we came together in our beach in north of Germany. We have a beach there. So in the summer we played there and to practice there every summer. And so I learned to love the sport and feel the potential there as well, what I have.
5 Olympics, but also now 2 sons.
Yes.
How did you manage to manage that?
With a lot of people, like a village, the saying, you need a village for growing up a kid. So I definitely felt that. I definitely also had to learn about the emotional side, like getting a baby. Before I was pregnant, I thought the baby was next to it. I can manage my life every day, practice 2 times. And then my baby was there and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even brush my teeth. I can't go for a shower. So how should I practice? So I had to learn to give the control as well, the control to look after my baby so that I can go back into my sport and my profession. And I'm definitely giving a big shout out to all the people around me, like my family, supporters, the people who looked after my babies as well, to actually go back and do what I love. And with the second baby, I have to say, having 2 kids and organize everything, it was a little bit harder. And I got very tired after the 5th Olympics. But it was definitely worth it, especially because my boys could sit on the bench, the stadium in Paris and watch me playing. I'm starting crying again. Just picturing them, seeing why I did what I did. They're just great.
You didn't cry as much before you had kids.
Yeah, it definitely comes with the hormones and the emotions come with the kids, I have to say.
Congratulations on it all.
Thank you.
Question for Julie. You're concerned primarily with the rules of volleyball in America, but a lot of what happens internationally is trickled down. And how have you blended the two, and what do you expect that might come down the pike that affects you, and how do you deal with all that?
Sure. So in the U.S., we use different rule sets, and one of the hats I wear is the Secretary of Rules Editor for the NCAA. And we've seen a lot of movement in the last few years in pace of play. The product we have right now with the collegiate game, some of the most competitive matches go beyond 2 hours. And some of the things that are happening at the international level that we've seen in the last few years are coming into the game here. So as far as the rules go, for example, things like a serving clock and the time in between rallies would be an example. We've been training the referees to beckon for serve as soon as the server has the ball in their hands. And things like that are things that we're doing to advance the time. Another key element of our game is we've added challenge review in the last few years. And at the international level, the camera equipment and the video equipment is typically significantly better than what we have available collegiately. And right now, the average time for a challenge is about 1:30 seconds, which is a lot of dead time. And so the commentators need to fill that time. They try to review the challenge. And so we are looking at ways to try to reduce that time for pace of play, fan interest, keeping the game moving. And we continue to train referees and look at ways that we can modify the rules in keeping the pace of the match going forward.
Well, they fight wars, Paul, in shorter time than some of the American college reviews. It's nice on the international level, just, go, okay, so there we go.
It's really, really wonderful. Great to see an old friend, Peter Diamond.
Oh, that was my next question for Peter Diamond. Go ahead, you go first.
Peter Diamond, there wouldn't be an Olympics on American television if it were not for Peter Diamond at ABC to begin with. In '76 was the first, and all the way through and to Paris. And a dear friend, not only of me personally, I'm proud to call you a friend, but also a dear friend of volleyball as well, and a big supporter. But you've seen the progression and the coverage of volleyball, first indoors, of course, and then coming onto the beach in 1996. But how has NBC, how has television in general played a key role in the growth of the sport, and what does the sport need to do to continue to be cohesive with television?
Yeah, thank you, Paul, and thank you for the kind words. Television and now all kinds of media are absolutely essential to the growth of the sport. And even with all the real estate now, it's still a very competitive landscape between the various sports to find time and convince programmers, network, cable, streamers to embrace the sport. It's absolutely essential, and it's really hard to say anything more than that. I think Julie really addressed the biggest challenge.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I think the FIVB and the domestic groups, at least I know in the States firsthand, have done a lot to embrace and improve the television product. The cameras are incredible now. The audio is much better. The number of cameras being allocated to volleyball as it grows in importance is proportionate to its importance. The biggest threat, biggest challenge is length of matches. And that's both indoor and on the beach. We all work on 2-hour windows. Anything more than 2 hours is, for lack of a better description, dangerous. And what it does is it makes broadcasters reluctant to program, telecasters reluctant to program. It's just too risky, especially when something important is following it, whether it's another sporting event or time that does not belong to a network. So length needs to be addressed constantly, and glad to hear about the solutions about which Julie's speaking on the indoor side. And I think the beach needs to be very careful to stay within an hour. Same challenge.
Quick follow-up, if I could. Through the decades, because you've seen them all, what do the numbers look like? Because, of course, we're still talking about swimming, gymnastics, and track and field as the big three at the Olympic Games, and maybe I'm leaving one out. But where does volleyball fit in, and what have you seen in terms of growth?
At least, I mean, what you're speaking about, of course, is our market. Everyone,
Yes.
Here in the United States, everyone is different. I think volleyball, to be extremely direct about it, has moved into an excellent position, right, below those big three. The basketball is always very big also, but I think volleyball has done a great job to have a position of real prominence. I think worldwide in the Olympics, and certainly in this market.
I can give some worldwide perspective if you want.
Please.
U.S. numbers against world numbers. 2016 Olympic Games, volleyball was positioned as the number one sport in terms of audience, even ahead of track and field, gymnastics, and swimming. In the last two Olympics, Tokyo and Paris, we got the top 3 position, and that was great also. And completely agree with Peter in terms of the main concern on the length of and duration of the game, but equally is how to celebrate the great moments of the game. Because our goals, our home runs, are basically the big rallies, the great defense, and multiple plays. And that's always is our challenge, is how to control the length, 2 hours volleyball, 1 hour beach volleyball, and equally deliver to spectators the best moments and best actions of the game.
It's at a very granular level, but the directors really need to be judicious in their use of replays. The more judicious they are on the quote-unquote, and pardon the language, less significant or less dramatic points, the better, so that there is time to celebrate the moments that you described, President.
Conversely, do you have a problem when there's a quick sweep and you've allotted a lot of time?
Yes.
Yes, because Paul's done some filling of airtime in his career.
Yes.
Sadly so.
Yes. I think the two factors have to be weighed, and you make your choices. Better to be a little short than too long. I mean, if you get an hour 20 in a 2 hour window, that's a challenge that hopefully everybody plans properly, and the number of those matches is minimal.